Good morning, everyone. My dear students, I hope you are good and enjoying the best of your health at your home. Students, today we are going to discuss a comprehension, and the topic of this comprehension is a myth. This comprehension is given at your books, Oxford AIA, page number 117. So I request you all to open the books because opening the books and keeping the text in front of you can give you the more clear idea, the more clear understanding of the text. So I give you some time to open the books. Meanwhile, you are opening the books. Let me read learning objective. That is to be able to know about ancient myths and inventions. Ancient means old, myths. We are going to know about myths in next slide, and invention means whatever they invented in past. Moving towards the next slide, what is a myth? Myth is a story that is told by people in ancient times to make them learn history and important events. As we know very well that in ancient times, especially the times before Christ, there were no schools, there were no educational institutes. So people used to used to learn the history through certain myths because myths were told by some writers, myths were told by some authors, and people used to hear those myths in order to know about their legends, in order to know about their history, in order to know about their past. So this was uh, a medium of education that was used to educate them. The second thing about myth is the second definition is any idea or story that is believed by many people but does not exist in reality. It means anything, any idea that can be false, that can be wrong, but that is believed by many people. Like if we talk about Hinduism, we have in Hinduism there is in Hindu religion people all the Hindus they believe in idols. They worship their idols. But according to our religion, according to our perspective, we don't believe in worshipping the idols. So their their belief is called myth because that worshipping the idol is a false idea according to us, but that is believed by many people in the world, so that can be called Hindu myth or Hindu mythology. Next, moving towards the next slide, here we have the background of what we are going to background of the myth that we are going to read today. Basically, this myth is the an this myth belongs to an ancient this myth belongs to ancient Greece when there was the peak period of Greek civilization when Greek civilization was dominating the whole world, and that is in Greek civilization, in Greek Empire, Athens, the city Athens was actually the center of Greek civilization. Athens was actually the name of a city, and that city was named after a goddess, Athena. And Athena was actually the goddess of courage, strength, wisdom, civilization, law and justice, arts. As we know very well that Greeks used to believe in many gods, so they had different gods for different things. Like their chief god, like their god was one god was Apollo, who was the god of sun, and there were many other gods, and there was one god that was the god of all gods, and whose name was Zeus. So to be very short, I can say that yes, they believed in many gods, and one of those gods and goddesses was Athena, and Athena was the goddess of many things like justice, arts, war in Greek mythology. So the city Athens was named after her name. Next, this myth, the myth that we are going to read today, this myth was first told by a Roman writer, and the name of that Roman writer was Ovid. who was born in 43 BC. BC means before Christ. And then after that, this was told and retold by many writers, many philosophers, many orators all over the world. And yes, this is still an inspiration for many writers and artists throughout the world because there is a lesson in in this, in this myth, in this story. There is a lesson. And what is that lesson? We will read it in next slides. Moving towards next, we have some characters. Actually, I am making it quite easier for you to understand by giving you the background and by telling you the characters, so that so that you may have a look on the characters first, and then if you read the story, it will be easier for you to understand. Here we have many characters. The very first was Daedalus. Daedalus was actually this name of this myth is Daedalus and Icarus. Daedalus was a renowned Greek inventor and craftsman. He was very famous and he was very famous inventor and he used to invent many things and he was very renowned among the people of Greece. Next comes Icarus. Icarus was actually his young son. He was so young. He was almost, he was more than a boy and he was the only son of Daedalus. Next, Tellus. Tellus or Telos, you can whatever you can call it, because it's a name, you can call it Tellus or Telos. So I may call it Tellus. Tellus is actually Daedalus' nephew, the nephew of that renowned Greek inventor. He was also his apprentice. Apprentice means his pupil, his student, his employee, uh, the one who learns something from someone. So Talus became the apprentice of Daedalus. Then, after learning with the passage of time, he learned everything so quickly that he became more skilled than his teacher, than his uncle Daedalus. He became more skilled and he started creating the things, he started inventing the things better than his teacher Daedalus. The next character is Minos. Minos is actually the king of Crete, and Crete is the place where Daedalus escaped. Why Daedalus escaped? We will read it in next slides. Next comes Minotaur. Minotaur is actually an evil monster with the head of a bull and body of a man, and that terrorized the people of Crete. What are the roles of these five characters in the story? Let's have a look on next slides. Important points. So let me give you, before I move towards the important points, let me give you a brief summary of this myth, and in that summary, all these points that are shown in your screen, they all will be covered. Actually, there was a person, Daedalus, who was a very famous inventor of Greece. He had he had an apprentice. He had his student, who was actually his nephew. His name was Talus, and Talus was learning how to invent the thing from Daedalus. With the passage of time, Talus was so quick in learning that he learned all the things. He learned the whole talent, and he was so intelligent that he surpassed his teacher. Surpassed means he left behind his teacher, and he became better inventor than Daedalus because he invented so many things, like you can see in your text. He invented the very first saw. Saw is actually a tool. He invented the very first saw. He invented the wheel for potter to make pots. He invented so many things. And yes, he invented some things that I told you, that I just told you. So after when Daedalus saw that his student, his nephew Talus, was getting more intelligent and inventing many things, he got jealous. He got jealous of his nephew's intelligence. And then one day, the jealousy grew so the jealousy in him grew so worse that he decided to murder his nephew so that only he would be considered the best inventor of Greece. So one day he took his nephew on a building and to show the city or to have a look on the views, to have a look on the scenes of the city. As they were sitting on the roof of that building, Daedalus threw Daedalus threw him, and Daedalus pushed him, pushed his nephew, and his nephew fell down, and suddenly he got dead. After his death, Daedalus tried to hide the dead body, but he was captured and from he was exiled from that place. He was exiled from Athens, the city actually. He was exiled from Athens as punishment. So Daedalus and his son escaped to Crete. They were actually banished. They were exiled to Crete. Crete was another city of Greece that can be near Athens, but that was another city, and ruled by that city was ruled by Minos, and Minos is the ruler of Crete. As Minos came to know that Daedalus with his son was with them in their city, he decided to order Minos to build a labyrinth, a labyrinth labyrinth in the basement of his giant palace, his great palace. So what is labyrinth? Labyrinth is actually a complicated path that is surrounded by walls, and no one can know how to go outside of those walls. At a complicated way, a complicated paths. So when you are inside that labyrinth, you will be struck. You will be quite struck. So, according to the orders of Minos, both son and father. They work day and night to build that labyrinth. After making the labyrinth, uh, Daedalus decided to leave that place, but Minos ordered them not to leave that place because Daedalus was the only person who knows how to go, how to come outside of that labyrinth. So he ordered both of them, both son and father, to stay in Crete. So they were restricted over there, but they wanted to go back to so they wanted to leave that city. They wanted to go somewhere else. So they decided to, because Daedalus was a famous inventor. So he got an idea and he decided to make some wings, and so that he may fly away from that island, from that city, Crete city, so that they both may fly away from there. So they worked day and night to make their city, to make their wings, and they made their wings through the feathers of different birds that he and his son collected on daily basis. After making those wings with the help of feathers, he sewed all the feathers. He tied all the feathers with threads, and with the help of wax, he combined all the feathers. Then, then they started to have their first flight as they tied their as they tied their wings. They both started to fly in the air. But before their flight, Daedalus gave two instructions, two pieces of advice to his son. What were those advices? Those advices were, the very first advice uh, was was that he advised his son not to go so high, not to fly so high, because with the help of the sunlight, with the scorching sunlight, the wax on the feathers, the wax on the wings may melt. So he asked them, he asked him not to fly too high, and yes, he asked him not to fly too down. So, because the water in the ocean can be, he can fall in the ocean in the water of the ocean, and that too shall create some problem for them. So, but after some time, when they had their first flight, Icarus, in excitement, Icarus, who was the son of Daedalus, in excitement, he he flew so high that with the help of with the scorching sunlight, his the wax on his wings got melt, and he fell down and drowned in the water. This was what the basic summary of this myth, Daedalus and Icarus. So there is this vocabulary, a list of vocabulary given here. So you may have a look on it. The word renowned, famous, popular, craftsman means a skilled person who makes things by hand. Apprentice means pupil, student, employee for a short time, the one who learns something from someone. Surpass means to do or be better than someone. Actually, uh, Tellus surpassed his teacher, Daedalus. So the next word is spine. Spine is actually the bone. Potter, a person who makes dry pots by hand or mill. These are some difficult words in first paragraph. The same way some words are given in second paragraphs like fester. Fester means to become worse. Device means to think up. Gazed means to look carefully. Entranced means excitedly and with great pleasure. Banish means to order someone to leave a country, to exile. Partridge means a small bird. The words from third paragraph we can see in front of we can see on our screen are labyrinth. Labyrinth is a complicated series of paths separated by walls, which is different to find your way through. Like if you are inside that labyrinth, you are it will be very difficult for you to find your way through. A complicated series of paths separated by walls, which is difficult actually, which is difficult to find your way through. Next, cellars means basement, underground, the basement of palace, palace of Minos. Next, maze means the labyrinth. Maze means the same labyrinth that we saw here. Tyrant, tyrant means a cruel and unjust ruler. Actually, Minos was a tyrant ruler. That's why he he did not allow Daedalus and Icarus to leave their country. Next, we have next we have difficult words from four paragraphs. The first word is flee. Flee means to run away, to escape, and we know very well, and I know that you have read this word in Macbeth as well, because this word is used many times in Macbeth. In Macbeth, as Malcolm and Donald Brand, they both fled to Scotland and Ireland respectively. Fled is the second form of flee. Also, we came to know that Fleance fled to somewhere according to the instruction of his father Banku. So fled is the third form of flee. Flee means to run, to escape. You are very well familiar with this word. I am just reinforcing it. Next word is painstakingly. Painstakingly means with a lot of effort, attention and care. Daedalus made his wings with a lot of effort, with a lot of attention and care. He made those wings painstakingly. Next word is soar. Soar means to rise up quickly into the air. Soar means to fly so high, to rise up quickly into the air. Next word is swoop. Swoop means to fly quickly downwards, to come downwards quickly, just like someone dives in the water. The words from fifth paragraph are flapping, a flap. Flap means moving up and down. Flapping is actually the movement of the wings. When the birds fly, we can say that the birds flap to fly. They flap their wings to fly. Next word is exhilarating. Exhilarating means very exciting and enjoyable. Next word is perch. Perch means to stay, to place, and cooing means the sound of the bird. Cooing, the sound of the bird. Triumphantly means in victory. So this is it. This is it about